The pleas of concerned pet lovers gathered outside the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter Thursday afternoon drowned out the sound of the barking dogs inside. Their hope was that Town Supervisor Kate Murray would hear their demands to lift the ban on volunteers to the shelter and end what they call a patronage mill.
This is a completely bloated budget here. It's a patronage mill. So we demand that they lower the budget and that they improve the services for the animals and for the public.
Well, one of the main issues is that they kicked out the liaisons to the rescue. So we used to get phone calls from Diane Madden saying, you know, we've got in this litter of puppies. They're only 4 weeks old. They need to get out. We don't get the phone calls anymore. You know, the people aren't doing the rescue anymore. The care of the animals is just not acceptable. You know, they get no personal attention. They're just warehoused in cages. There's no volunteer program, which is absurd. Improper medical care, you know, things gotta change.
Merrick resident Lucille DeFina is one of 3 local women who have filed a lawsuit against the Town of Hempstead since being banned from volunteering at the shelter after they spoke out about alleged abuses they had witnessed.
We still do not know why we were banned, why they stopped us from doing something that we love, that we did with a passion, that we did every day of our lives with just out of love. I'm the cat rescue person, Diane's the dog, and for cats, I'm very worried because every day of my life that I came into the shelter and I visited the back room, I made sure that nobody was going to be euthanized because I didn't feel that they were euthanizing properly. You can't judge a cat. When they come in and they get thrown in a cage in this environment, they look vicious, they look feral. So many cats that they thought were feral and sentencing for euthanasia, I was forced to pull. My foster mom, my very best foster mom is here, and within 3 days, she had them purring and rolling on their bellies, and this is a cat that would be euthanized. So that's why I watched each and every cat. And the fact that I can't do that anymore and no one else does, there's no one who does that. What are you going to do with a feral cat? And 75% of the cats that go through those doors are deemed feral and unadoptable.
And that they took some actions that are allegedly slandering some of the rescue people. They've claimed that they've reported them to the district attorney's office on some type of investigation, and as far as I can tell, that's not true. They've done nothing wrong. They've spent their own money. They've worked hard to try and do something good for society, for animals, for pet owners, and actually for the taxpayer. And now they're being punished.
While Supervisor Murray has not commented on the specifics of the probes into the shelter, she has emphasized that the investigations are related to administrative matters and not the results of any reports of animal cruelty or mistreatment.
We have a $7 million budget here, but this should be the Taj Mahal for animals.
I would love it if the $7 million was going to the shelter. That would be wonderful. These animals would be in a 5-star hotel. That's what I want for them. But the money's not going there. So if it's not going to them, then get rid of it. Stop taking it away from the taxpayers. Give it back to the people and let the people who do this from their heart for nothing come in and do what needs to be done. That's it. You know, one or the other, Kate Murray. Do one or the other.
Where is it? How come this guy's making $200,000 a year for doing nothing?
Yeah, I think
for doing nothing?
Right now they don't have a volunteer program. You know, if you contrast the Town of Hempstead shelter with no volunteers with the Town of Brookhaven, which only has a $1.2 million budget, by the way, they have 80 volunteers. You know, the volunteers are a very important part of animal rescue and animal placement. They help to match animals with families that are compatible, with new owners that are compatible. They know that business like nobody else does. And it's free. And many of them even spend some of their own money on doing it. So why are we turning this away?
Merrick resident Bill Staub thanked one of the now banned volunteers, Diane Madden of East Meadow, for bringing 2 dogs into his life 2 years ago that he believes would not have survived if she had not taken them out of the shelter.
The $7 million budget, these dogs should be living like kings, the way they deserve to be treated.
Right.
Not like disposable garbage. The dogs, one of them had kennel cough. The dog had stayed here, the dog would have been euthanized because there's nobody here to care for them. She took the dogs out, took them to the hospital, and paid for their treatment.
Right.
Out of her own pocket.
Out of her own pocket.
In response to the rally, the town of Hempstead issued the following statement. Anyone who has visited animal shelters in our region knows Hempstead Town's facility is the cleanest, best-run dog and cat care shelter around. Staff members who care about the animals give loving attention to our furry friends who are awaiting adoption. The town also cited a recent New York State review of the shelter in which they received top grades and said rescue groups like Rescue Inc. have praised the shelter. They added that recent rescues by shelter workers spoke volumes about the passion and professionalism of the town's animal care team. The statement said attacks on the shelter's budget are uninformed and demonstrate profound ignorance of the municipal budgeting. Hempstead spends money where it counts. Comparing themselves to other major animal shelters, the town said they spent $220,000 on medical care and $175,000 on feeding the animals, much more than what they say one of the island's other largest townships spends.
Yeah, the AG office, they just come down and they look at the basics, you know.
Right.
If they have food and water, and they'll tell you that if you call them. They're not looking at anything other than the basics.
We had one of our investigators call them, and we determined that, you know, the town knew they were coming in, so of course everything's going to be cleaned up and ready for them. It's no surprise inspection, so that's a no-brainer for them. You know, if they got to do that once a year, what's a big deal? They can pull that off. But let's look at the budget.
Linda Clamful is a volunteer with Almost Home Animal Rescue in Medford, who says she used to work with Madden to move numerous dogs and cats out of the shelter and into foster homes. Since the ban, the phone calls have stopped, but Clamful walked into the shelter 3 weeks ago and walked out with this lovable pooch she named Snaggle.
You can't keep litters of like 4-week-old puppies here. You know, this dog should not have been here, should not have sat here for 3 weeks. You know, it's atrocious. This is a beautiful animal that's good with everything. You could have placed him, my 6-year-old lays on top of him. You know, he should have been out, in and out fast, and he just sat here because no one knows him.
What is your fear of what's happening if they're not being placed?
They're being euthanized, or they're sitting and rotting. You know, you can't kennel a dog long periods of time. They go insane. They need human contact. They need human interaction. They start to spin and lunge and lose weight, and it's a very poor quality of life. You can't place a dog unless you know it. It's just, you can't do it because they have such different personalities. And they knew absolutely nothing about this dog. They didn't even know what kind of breed he was. They put him as a bull mastiff, and he's a doggy de Bordeaux, which is a French mastiff, which is a totally different breed. So, you know, they didn't know if he was good with kids. So I temperament tested him, tried him with another dog here, tested him with the cats, and brought him home. And that's all it took. And if they would do that, they'd be able to place, you know, if they get people in here that care about these dogs, they'd be able to place them properly and get more out to find good homes and not let them just sit in cages and rot.
Is that there is a petition out there of volunteers that are wanting to volunteer, that are ready to volunteer, with 2,800 signatures on it, that want to get into Town of Hempstead shelter to help the animals, to socialize the animals. These animals, not only the hoarding situation, but the animals inside. They're coming into the shelter with no services that they really need to get them adopted, to get the socialization that they need. There's no vet on premises. To say the first goal is to get volunteers would really be what these animals need now. These animals can't wait any longer. We've been waiting for these promises for months and months. The Town of Hempstead promised air conditioning in the kennels years and years ago. We don't want this. We don't want these promises to die on the vine. We want more for these animals, and this sign says it all. $7 million, and the animals say, "Show me the money."